The morning sun cast a golden glow over the quiet monastery, nestled between rolling hills and a dense bamboo grove. Birds chirped softly, their melodies blending with the rhythmic chanting of monks preparing for the day ahead. In the heart of the monastery, beneath the shade of an ancient Bodhi tree, sat an old monk, Monsieur Thomas. His robes, though simple, carried the grace of time, and his eyes, deep and knowing, reflected the wisdom of decades spent in quiet contemplation. With a gentle breath, he exhaled into the morning air, watching the mist swirl and dissipate much like the fleeting nature of human existence. The cool breeze carried the scent of blooming jasmine, a reminder of life's transient beauty. As he sat in stillness, memories of his younger days surfaced like ripples in a tranquil pond. He had not always been at peace. There was a time when questions plagued his mind, questions of life, death, and the nature of the self. He had seen friends grow old, watched loved ones pass, and felt the weight of impermanence pressing against his heart. Even as a monk, he had struggled to comprehend, who am I? What happens when I die? One morning, many decades ago, a traveling scholar had visited the monastery. The two had sat beneath this very Bodhi tree, and the scholar had posed a question that would alter the course of Monsieur Thomas's journey. Monsieur Yi, before you were born, who were you? And when you die, where will you go? The question lingered, unsettling yet profound. At that time, young Thomas had no answer. He had studied the scriptures, listened to the teachings, but had never truly seen beyond the illusion of self. And so began his quest, not to acquire more knowledge, but to unlearn, to strip away the layers of identity and illusion, and to look beyond what the mind could grasp. He had traveled across distant lands, seeking wisdom from hermits in mountain caves, meditating in silent retreats, and observing the cycle of birth and decay in the natural world. He watched the leaves fall, in autumn, only to be reborn in spring. He listened to the river's ceaseless flow, understanding that it was never truly the same, yet never truly different. Now, as an old man, he smiled at the memory of his younger self, so eager to understand, yet so blind to the simplicity of truth. He had spent decades walking the path, and now, as he sat beneath the same tree, he knew the answer was never far away. It had always been here, waiting in the silence, in the breath, in the knowing beyond thought. The sound of footsteps broke, his reflection. A young monk approached, bowing respectfully before speaking. "Monsieur, may I ask you something?" Monsieur Thomas nodded with a gentle smile. "What happens when we die?" The old monk gazed at the sky where white clouds drifted lazily, shifting and reshaping with the wind. Then, with the tenderness of one who had seen through the illusion of separation, he answered, "Tell me, when a cloud disappears from the sky, where does it go?" The young monk hesitated, glancing upward. "It becomes rain, or mist, or returns to the ocean." Monsieur Thomas chuckled softly. "Exactly. And so it is with you and me. We do not truly come or go. We are like waves upon the ocean, rising and falling, appearing and dissolving, yet always water, always part of the whole." The young monk's eyes widened with realization, but Monsieur Thomas simply closed his, returning to the stillness that was always there, patiently waiting to be seen. As the morning sun climbed higher, the young monk remained beside his teacher, absorbing the lesson not just through words, but through the silent understanding that lay beneath them. A bird took flight from the branches above, soaring effortlessly into the sky, its wings catching the golden light. The young monk followed its path, realizing perhaps for the first time that freedom was not found in clinging to what was known, but in surrendering to the vastness of existence. And thus, the journey of understanding began, not through seeking something new, but by remembering what had always been. The journey for truth, Monsieur Thomas, was born into a humble family in a quiet village, surrounded by lush fields and rolling hills. As a child, he was filled with dreams and ambitions, envisioning a future where he could achieve great things. He excelled in his studies, eager to carve a path that would bring him success and recognition. But life, as it often does, had different plans for him. One fateful day, tragedy struck. His beloved uncle, a man who had guided and inspired him, passed away suddenly. The weight of grief bore down upon him, and for the first time, Thomas confronted. The impermanence of life. Questions swirled in his mind. What happens after death? Where do we go? Is there anything beyond this fleeting existence? These questions haunted him, overshadowing his once clear aspirations. Unable to find solace in the routines of daily life, Thomas made a decision that would change the course of his destiny. He left home, embarking on a journey to seek answers. Beyond the world he knew, he traveled to distant monasteries where wise elders shared their teachings. He spent days and nights poring over sacred scriptures, hoping to find the truth hidden within their words. He sought out mystics who had renounced worldly attachments, hoping that they could guide him toward enlightenment. Yet, despite his relentless pursuit, he felt as though he were grasping at smoke. Each answer led to more questions. Each revelation left him yearning for something deeper. Years passed, and Thomas grew weary of his search. He had wandered through dense forests, climbed treacherous mountains, and sat in silent meditation halls, yet the elusive truth remained just out of reach. Disheartened, he found himself one evening sitting by the banks of a quiet river, watching the water flow endlessly toward the horizon. The sound of the gentle current and the cool breeze against his skin brought a rare moment of peace. As he sat in meditation, a thought emerged from the depths of his consciousness. If a drop of water falls into the ocean, does it truly disappear? The question startled him, echoing in his mind like a riddle waiting to be solved. For hours he watched the river, contemplating the nature of existence. The water before him was always moving, never the same in any given moment, and yet it remained a river. Could it be that he too was part of something greater, something continuous and infinite? In that moment, Thomas realized that life, like the river, is not static, but an ever-flowing stream of energy. He understood that seeking external answers would never satisfy his longing for truth was not something to be attained, but something to be lived. The self he had been trying to define was not a fixed entity, but an evolving, interconnected aspect of the universe. He saw that suffering arose not from the fleeting nature of life, but from the desire to hold on to what was meant to pass. With this newfound insight, Thomas felt something within him shift. The burden of his endless searching began to lighten. Perhaps the truth was not something to be found, but something to be recognized. He did not need to seek it in distant lands or ancient texts. It was always present, woven into the very fabric of existence. In that moment of clarity, he smiled for the first time in years, realizing that his journey was not about seeking something new, but about remembering what had always been there. He understood that true peace came from surrendering to the flow of existence, accepting each moment as it was without resistance. He had spent so much time seeking an ultimate answer that he had failed to see the wisdom in simplicity. His heart filled with gratitude for the teachings of the monks, for the lessons of the river, and for the struggles that had shaped his understanding. He saw now that his life's purpose was not to escape suffering, but to embrace it as part of the great dance of existence. With renewed purpose, he decided to return to the monastery, not as a lost seeker, but as one who had glimpsed the essence of being. He understood now that enlightenment was not a destination, but a way of seeing the world. And so he walked away from the river, ready to embrace the next chapter of his journey with a heart full of peace and a mind open to the endless flow of life. He knew that true wisdom lay in living each moment with awareness, kindness, and an open heart, knowing that he was never separate from the great ocean of existence, realizing the true nature of existence. As Monsieur Thomas returned to the monastery, a deep sense of tranquility settled within him. He had ventured far and wide, searching for truth in scriptures, in the wisdom of sages, and in the silent whispers of nature. Now he understood that truth was not something external to be attained, but an ever-present reality to be realized. It was within him, within all beings, woven into the very fabric of existence. Sitting beneath the ancient Bodhi tree, he observed the world around him with newfound clarity. The leaves rustled with the wind. The river continued its endless flow. The sun rose and set without struggle. Everything in nature moved with harmony, without resistance, simply existing in its true form. And then it dawned upon him. Human suffering stemmed from resistance to this natural flow of life. We cling to what is impermanent, he reflected, yet expect it to remain unchanged. We fear what is inevitable, yet try to escape it. But the river does not resist its course, the clouds do not refuse to turn into rain, and the trees do not mourn the falling of their leaves. Why then do we as humans resist the natural way of things? This realization reshaped his understanding of suffering and liberation. He saw that attachment was the root of all suffering. Attachment to identity, to material possessions, to the fleeting nature of emotions. The self, as people perceived it, was merely a collection of thoughts, memories, and desires constantly shifting and evolving. There was no fixed entity, no permanent I. Just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, an individual is not separate from the whole of existence. One evening, a troubled young monk approached him. "Master," the monk said, his voice filled with uncertainty, "I meditate, I study the teachings, yet I still feel lost. Who am I really?" Monsieur Thomas smiled gently and pointed to the sky. "Tell me, where does a cloud go when it disappears?" The young monk hesitated. "It becomes rain. It nourishes the earth. It does not vanish, it only changes." "Exactly," Monsieur Thomas nodded. "Just as the cloud does not cease to exist, neither do you. Your body, your thoughts, your emotions, these are transient, ever-changing. But beneath all of it, there is something constant, an awareness that watches, that simply is. That is your true self." The young monk's eyes widened with realization. He bowed deeply, understanding that he had been searching for something that had never been lost. From that moment onward, Monsieur Thomas dedicated his days to guiding others toward this awareness. He taught that peace was not found in controlling life's circumstances, but in surrendering to them. He urged his disciples to live fully in the present, to see the beauty in impermanence, and to embrace life as it came, without clinging, without fear. One day, an elderly villager came to him in grief. "Master, my wife has passed away. I do not know how to continue without her. My heart is heavy with sorrow." Monsieur Thomas placed a comforting hand on the man's shoulder. "Tell me, when the sun sets, does the light cease to exist?" The villager thought for a moment. "No, it shines elsewhere beyond my sight." "So too with your wife," Monsieur Thomas said. "She has not disappeared. She has only changed form. She exists in the love you shared, in the memories you hold, in the very air you breathe. Nothing in this universe is ever truly lost." The man's grief softened, replaced with a quiet acceptance. He bowed deeply and left, his heart a little lighter. Through the seasons, Monsieur Thomas continued to share his wisdom. He taught that happiness was not a destination but a way of being, that the secret to life was not to hold on but to let go. He encouraged people to love without attachment, to live with kindness, and to walk their path with gratitude and awareness. Years passed, and one evening, as the moon cast its silver glow over the monastery, Monsieur Thomas sat by the river watching the water flow. He smiled, knowing that just as the river had no true beginning or end, neither did he. He was not just a man, not just a monk. He was life itself, moving, changing, yet always present. And in that moment he was truly free. Living with a new awareness, with his newfound understanding of existence, Monsieur Thomas embraced life with a deep sense of peace and acceptance. No longer bound by the illusions of the self, he moved through the world with a lightness that had eluded him in his younger years. Each moment became an opportunity to witness the beauty of impermanence, to experience life as it unfolded without resistance. As he walked through the monastery gardens, he observed the changing seasons with a profound appreciation. The flowers bloomed in spring, their vibrant colors illuminating the earth, only to wither and fall as autumn approached. Yet he no longer saw this as loss. Instead, he understood it as a cycle. Each leaf that fell nourished the soil, each petal that withered made way for new life. He realized that nothing was ever truly lost. It merely changed form. One morning a young monk approached him with an air of frustration. "Master," he said, "I try to live with awareness, but my thoughts still trouble me." I find myself worrying about the past and fearing the future. How can I be truly free? Monsieur Thomas smiled and pointed to a stream nearby. Do you see how the water flows? It does not try to hold onto the rocks, nor does it resist its course. It simply moves, adapting to whatever lies ahead. Your thoughts are like this water. Let them come and go, but do not grasp them. Observe them as they are, without attachment, and you will find peace. The young monk contemplated these words and felt a weight lift from his heart. He bowed deeply, recognizing that true freedom lay not in controlling thoughts, but in letting them pass like clouds in the sky. Over time, Monsieur Thomas became a source of wisdom and guidance for those who sought his teachings. He spoke of the interconnectedness of all beings, reminding people that just as no wave exists apart from the ocean, no individual exists separate from the universe. We are all reflections of the same light, he would say. To love another is to recognize yourself in them. To act with kindness is to honor the sacredness of life. His words resonated deeply, not just within the monastery but beyond its walls. Villagers came to seek counsel, travelers stopped to listen, and students sat with him beneath the Bodhi tree, eager to understand his teachings. He taught them that true happiness was not found in possessions, achievements, or external validation, but in the simple act of being fully present in the here and now. One day, an elderly woman visited him, her face etched with sorrow. "Master," she said, "I have lost my son. My heart is heavy with grief and I do not know how to continue." Monsieur Thomas took her hands gently. "Your love for him does not end with his passing. Just as the wind carries the fragrance of a flower long after it has fallen, so too does your love carry his presence. He is not gone. He has only changed. Close your eyes, feel the love within you. That is where he will always be." Tears streamed down her face, but this time they were not of despair but of understanding. She bowed, whispering, "Thank you, Master." Through moments like these, Monsieur Thomas continued to share his wisdom, knowing that the greatest gift he could offer was not answers, but the ability to see life with clarity and compassion. He taught that suffering was not an enemy, but a teacher, that challenges were not obstacles but opportunities to deepen one's understanding, that each person had within them the capacity to awaken, to realize their true nature, and to live with boundless love and acceptance. As the years passed, Monsieur Thomas grew older, but his spirit remained as vibrant as ever. He knew that his time in this body was limited, but he did not fear death. He had seen beyond it, understood that just as a wave returns to the ocean, so too would he merge back into the great expanse of existence. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, he gathered his students and spoke his final lesson. "Do not seek me in form," he said. "I am in the wind that touches your face, in the laughter of a child, in the silence of the night. Remember, you are not separate from the world. You are the world. Live with love, walk with awareness, and you will always find me." And with that, he closed his eyes, breathing in the fullness of life one last time. As the stars emerged in the vast sky above, his presence remained, not in body but in the hearts of those who had walked beside him. And so the river continued to flow, the trees continued to sway, and the wisdom of Monsieur Thomas lived on, carried by those who had been touched by his light, embracing the eternal truth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting its golden hues upon the monastery, the disciples of Monsieur Thomas sat in quiet reflection. Their master's wisdom lingered in their hearts, reminding them that although all things are impermanent, the true essence of life never fades. The river continued to flow, the wind carried the scent of blossoms, and the cycle of existence unfolded as it always had. Everything changed, yet nothing was ever truly lost. Monsieur Thomas had taught them that life is a fleeting moment, a dance of energy in the vastness of the universe. He had shown them that clinging to form leads to suffering, but embracing the flow of life brings peace. The body may age, the seasons may shift, but the awareness within, the unshakable presence that observes all, remains untouched. This was the greatest lesson of all. You are not your name, your past, or even your body. You are the infinite, presence in which all things arise and dissolve. As they contemplated this truth, a profound question emerged in their minds. Do I truly know who I am? It was a question Monsieur Thomas had often posed, not to seek an answer, but to spark deeper self-inquiry. Who were they beyond their thoughts, beyond their roles in the world? Where did they come from before birth, and where would they go after? Death? The answer could not be grasped with logic alone. It had to be experienced through presence, through stillness, through the direct realization of being. For those listening to this message now, the same question remains. Do you truly know who you are, not as a name, a title, or a collection of memories, but as the boundless awareness that has always been? You do not need to accept this idea blindly. Instead, observe life with clarity, with openness, and with a deep sense of curiosity. Look beyond appearances, beyond fleeting emotions, and recognize the timeless essence that resides within you. The journey of awakening is not about accumulating knowledge. It is about seeing through the illusion of separation. There is no rush, no urgency. Each breath, each moment of stillness is an invitation to remember. The simple act of being aware, of watching the sky, listening to the wind, feeling the warmth of the sun, is itself a doorway to truth. If these insights have resonated with you, know that this is only the beginning. There is so much more to discover, so much more to experience. Continue walking this path with an open heart and a seeking mind. Explore these teachings, reflect upon them, and apply them in your daily life. Let go of fear, embrace love, and trust in the natural unfolding of existence. If you have found wisdom in these words, we invite you to continue this journey with us. Through future discussions, meditations, and reflections, we will delve deeper into the mysteries of life, uncovering the truths that lie beneath the surface. Subscribe, follow, and join our community of seekers as we walk this path together. Not to find something new, but to remember what has always been. Everything changes, yet you are always here. The river flows, the wind blows, and the eternal presence remains.